G'day, I'm Paul. The Toyota HiLux, it is one of the most dependable utes and it is the best-selling vehicle in Australia. That's right, they sell more of these than anything else on the market. Now this has recently been updated. This is the top spec SR5 and it is the new cab chassis variant. It's priced at just under $59,000 and it sits below the special editions, the Rugged X and the Rogue. And it competes with cars like the Ford Ranger, the Volkswagen Amarok, you name it. There are so many competitors in this segment. Today we're going to do a detailed review of the new HiLux SR5. If you do want to skip ahead to other parts of this review, you can use the time codes up on the screen, or if you're on YouTube, just scroll down and use the chapters below. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit subscribe and press the bell icon. That's going to tell you every single time we drive something new. Righto, let's talk exterior. You've got 7 different colours to choose from and all but white is an additional $600. Let's have a look at this front end. So you'll notice there has been some minor styling changes here. There's lashings of chrome, giant Toyota emblem. It has matured in terms of the design, but it still looks fairly aggressive and you still can get a whole stack of Australian developed accessories that attach to the front of it as well. And they're compatible with things like the airbags and all the safety systems. You'll notice as well with the headlights, these have changed. So while the previous pre-facelift HiLux was LED headlights, this retains the LED headlights, but there are other LED strips in there now, including LED indicators. So this looks really cool at night time. Down here, again, you've got like a stylized cluster with a fog light integrated down the bottom. Jump around to the side. We have a set of 18-inch alloy wheels with highway terrain tires. Quite a nice design. I like this sort of shiny gloss look on the outside and then the black on the inside. You'll notice that the SR5, yes, it is the top spec model of the normal vehicles, but you can jump up to Rugged X and Rogue if you do want different styling highlights and then extra features as well. And they come with their own set of wheels. So I do like the way that looks. You've got an indicator built into here with a little bit of chrome on the top. You get side steps, privacy glass, and then come around to the back. Now this is a new variant to the HiLux range and it's allowed them to price the SR5 cheaper, and that's because it doesn't have a style side rear on it. This is sold as a chassis and then you add on all the bits that you want to it, including things like your tow bar. It has a 3.5 ton braked towing capacity, and then you'll notice here as well the difference with the style side vehicle. You have LED tail lights built into them and they look quite nice as well. They follow the trend of the front end, whereas this is quite a basic setup and it means you're not really sort of getting that nice looking rear end. Kind of makes me wonder why you'd bother getting the chassis version of this if you didn't want the nicer version looking of the HiLux. So let me know in the comments below, should they have done a chassis variant for the SR5 or just kept that for lower end models? But one of the advantages of not having that style side rear is that you get more payload capacity. So this has just over 1,100 kilograms of payload capacity. So this is the vehicle that you want if you are quite serious about hauling things in the tray, as opposed to it just looking good. Okay, so we're inside the HiLux, so we'll start off with the key. This is what it looks like. You've got lock, unlock, panic, and then the Toyota symbol down the bottom, lashing of chrome there as well. And then on the back, it just says HiLux. This is a proximity sensing key. So you just leave that in your pocket, grab the door handle. It's got a little button on it. And then you have a push button start just next to the steering wheel. Okay, what about styling? Look, I don't think this is dated that well. This ute hasn't been out that long and this is already starting to look quite old. They didn't really make too much of a change here with the facelift of the HiLux. So this will still be around for a little while longer. I'll take you through the changes on the infotainment system shortly. But just in terms of materials, this may look soft with this fake stitching built into it, but everything around this cabin is really sort of rough and tumble. Now, obviously with dual cab utes, they are work vehicles. They want them to be, I guess, future-proof in the sense of durability. But at the end of the day, utes at this end of the price bracket are starting to become far more premium. The new D-Max is a perfect example. There's a lot of soft touch materials and that's shared with the BT50. This feels like it's yesteryear's ute and they haven't really got with the times in terms of making it feel a bit more premium for the money that you're spending. What about the touch points? Well, they are soft, thank goodness, here and here as well. That's cloth. And we have tested all of those touch points with our gyrometer. So if you want to see how this car performs against other vehicles in this segment, just scroll down to the description where you'll find a link. Now, what about build quality? We'll do our shake test. That sort of flexes the rest of that center console, but for the most part, this feels pretty good. I haven't really heard any complaints from HiLux owners about build quality, so let me know in the comments below. Do you own an older HiLux? Have you had any dramas with it? Let me know if it's still kicking about. Okay, let's talk infotainment. Toyota has updated the infotainment system. It's now an 8-inch infotainment unit that is touchscreen and also has these buttons on the flanks. Now, if you do want a detailed review of this infotainment system, you can click up here. Today, I'll just give you a brief overview. So you get satellite navigation built into the infotainment system. Works okay, it's not too bad. Over on the steering wheel, you have voice recognition that allows you to call contacts and also enter addresses. Works okay, not amazing, but it does the job. The big integration here, though, that changes this for the HiLux is smartphone mirroring. So now it includes both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto using a cord. So I'll show you what Apple CarPlay looks like. Pretty smooth integration, takes up the entire screen and works fairly seamlessly. Let's have a look at Android Auto. Another nice integration, takes up the entire screen. That all looks fairly well. Let's have a look at maps. That all works well as well. Keep in mind as well that with the voice recognition system, when your phone is paired to smartphone mirroring, you're able to push commands through to the phone, which will make voice recognition a whole lot more accurate. You also have a 6-speaker sound system, and then in terms of audio, you have AM, FM, DAB+. On the connectivity front, 1 USB port, so if you do have your phone plugged in for smartphone mirroring, you can't really charge any other devices or do anything else, which is a bit of a shame. You have a 12-volt outlet there, and then extra connectivity in the back seat. Now moving on to safety, you get autonomous emergency braking that has vulnerable road user detection. You have radar cruise control with a lane keeping assistant. Now keep in mind, because this retains the hydraulic steering rack, the lane keeping assistant is the type that pulses the brakes. So it can be a little bit weird because it feels like it's swerving back into the lane as opposed to being a gradual system, which is what you get with cars that have electrically assisted steering racks. You can switch it off though, just with one push of that button, which is really good. Now, one thing we did notice, and I don't know if this is linked to the safety systems, but randomly up here, there's like a set of demisters that are sort of built into this section of the screen. I don't know what they do, and I actually pulled this off before. It's like a little cable that goes into there. Let me know in the comments section below. Do you know what this does? I'm very curious. Is it the antenna for the radio? What is it exactly? Let me know in the comments section below. Okay, now the last thing that I want to talk about here is parking. Now, with these vehicles in and around work sites, in and around family homes and that sort of thing, the chassis version of the SR5, despite being like the top spec model, has no parking sensors at all. So no front, no rear parking sensors. And even worse, there's no reverse camera. So when you put it into reverse, nothing happens. So you're kind of left on your own here, and it really surprises me that in 2020 and moving on to 2021, there can still be a brand new car on the market that does not have parking sensors, especially a vehicle like this that's going to be in sort of urban areas where there's lots of pedestrians and kids and stuff around. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Would you just install them yourself, or should they be standard? Moving on to practicality, and we'll start with storage. Where are you going to put your phone? The phone can easily live there or there. There's no wireless phone charging. There's plenty of storage space for it. So big tick to Toyota for that. What about your bottles of Dare Ice coffee? You can fit them in here. The other great thing is something they've carried over from previous generations of the HiLux, and that is the bottle holder in front of the air vent. So if it is a stinking hot day and you've got yourself a nice cool drink, you can pop that in front of your air conditioning duct, or if you've got a coffee in the morning and you have the heater on, it'll keep it kind of warm. Then you also have storage inside the door for the bottle, plus other odds and ends. You have a center console here. It's pretty deep. I'll show you how big that is. And on top of that, there's also a power outlet in there. Glove box down the bottom that'll fit your bottles and other bits and pieces, but then also a chilled box at the top. So yet another storage space to put your drinks to keep them cool. And then sunglasses holder up here. Let's talk comfort. The SR5 comes standard with cloth seats. They actually look pretty cool, kind of a different design to what you'd expect in a dual cab ute. You can get a pack for $2,500 that adds leather, heated seats, electric seat adjustment. So that is probably worth considering if you do want a little bit of luxe in here. But for the most part, these are quite comfortable, all manually adjusted. The steering wheel sits nicely in the hand, and the driving position actually feels quite good. All of this stuff is really easy to reach too. So from that point of view, it's all very straightforward. Okay, let's talk second row. Before I get in here, let me show you what you can do here. So the seats fold up, they don't fold down. And when you do fold them up, Eagle, can you grab the handle on that side? It reveals some storage space beneath the seats. So room for a jack in there, and then room for a couple of bits and pieces in here as well. And then they just drop down. All right, let's climb in. Grab handle there as well, which is handy. Okay, so you have hooks here in the back of the seats. You have air vents as well, which is good for the SR5. What about room? There ain't much. Knees are right into that seat. My seat is pretty far back, admittedly, but at the end of the day, there really isn't a great deal of room there. Toe room is compromised and headroom is okay, but if you're taller, you're probably going to be rubbing against the roof there. Mat pockets in the back of the seats, and then you have a center armrest with two cup holders. Your bottles can also go in the door. Little slot for them down there. You have ISOFIX points on the two outboard seats and then hooks up the back here for hanging things. Okay, we're on the move in the HiLux. So it retains the same 2.8 litre 4-cylinder turbocharged diesel engine, but importantly, it has a bit more punch. Now produces 150 kilowatts of power and 500 newton meters of torque. So it now matches vehicles like the Ranger, which with its 2-litre diesel has always had that punchy engine. So it is a welcome addition. It retains the 6-speed automatic transmission as well. Now, how does all that feel? Well, from a standing start, it actually feels like it's a little more urgent in terms of its torque delivery. If I give it a punch now, it sort of gets up and moves a whole lot better. Like it's more eager to get up and really just deliver that torque without any delay. But the only downside is when you do get stuck into it and it reaches above 3,000 RPM, it really sends a harsh vibration through the car and it can be quite noisy as well. So yes, they have extracted a bit more out of it, but it's come slightly at the cost of refinement. Let's talk about drive modes. You really only have two to choose from here. You have Eco mode, which just kills the throttle. So you can go 3/4 throttle and nothing really happens. Then you have Power mode, which does the opposite. It makes the throttle super sensitive. So as you lean into it, it's more eager to go back through. It's kind of like at the 3/4 mark, it's at full throttle as opposed to full throttle being full throttle. Now, what about 0 to 100? I know it's not overly important for dual cab utes, but I'm keen to see whether this recent power bump has improved. Okay, let's talk fuel economy. The official figure is 7.9 litres per 100 kilometres. So we're sitting on? Okay, so we're sitting on 12, which is significantly high. Keep in mind, we have been doing a little bit of off-roading today and the car's been idling a little bit as well. So that is going to be higher than what you'd expect. But traditionally with Hiluxes, we've seen around the 8 to 9 litre per 100 mark when we've driven them for a longer period of time. So this is probably sitting a little higher than where we'd expect it to normally be. Now, what about the ride? This is another thing they improved with Hilux. And traditionally with Hilux, when there was nothing in the tray, it was one of the firmest riding utes in the segment. It felt like a sports car. You put a little bit of weight in the tray and that all disappeared. Now what they've done is they've really rounded off that hard edge to it. So even here on this really poor quality country road, it's soaking up everything really nicely. And this is now one of the better riding utes in the segment. It's still not class leading by any stretch, but it is far better than where it used to be. And it just makes it more manageable, especially when you do need to move out of the way for other cars coming in your direction and you're met with gravel surfaces and changing road types. Let's talk road noise. So you don't really hear much coming in through the tyres, but there is a bit of wind noise coming into the cabin. And then, as I mentioned earlier, that engine can get quite noisy and thrashy as you get stuck into it. Steering feel, well, it's a hydraulically assisted steering rack, so it doesn't have a great amount of feel, and it can be quite heavy at times, especially at low speeds when you're trying to park. It doesn't quite have the finesse or the ease of an electrically assisted steering rack. Now, what about handling? Okay, it's a dual cab ute, so no one really cares about handling. Look, it does the job. This being one of the firmer utes in the segment means it sits a little flatter, but at the end of the day, no one's really going to be throwing this around anytime soon. Let's talk visibility. So at the front, it's fine. You sit quite low in this compared to other dual cab utes. Now it's quite ironic given how high they sit, but this feels a little lower. Decent sized wing mirrors. There is no blind spot monitoring here with the SR5. And in terms of rearward visibility, it's very easy to see out of, even with that chassis tray and the lines that come associated with it. Now the question you're all asking, what about the diesel particulate filter? So Toyota had a lot of troubles with Hilux and also Fortuner when it came to the diesel particulate filter. They have addressed that now, and there is a manual burn switch plus a litany of instructions attached to the door, which gives you an idea of what you need to do if you need to manually clear the diesel particulate filter. Okay, let's talk off-road equipment. So, being a dual cab ute, a lot of people use these for work during the week and then play during the weekend. And that means doing a little bit of light off-roading, which is what we'll do today. I'll run you through the four-wheel drive equipment. So it has two-wheel drive predominantly, and that's rear-wheel drive. You can go to 4-high, which is a four-wheel drive mode, and you can do that on the fly. And then you have four-wheel drive low range. You also have a rear differential lock, but that only works in low range. So if you try and press that now, you can see it comes up with a little error message there. You also have a hill descent control too that I will show you in just a second. Now, if you do want to know what all of this stuff means, if perhaps it doesn't really make too much sense to you, you can watch our four-wheel drive controls explained video, which is just up there. But let's give this a shot. So in terms of the critical figures, you have a 29-degree approach angle. That is the angle of the face you can approach before you scuff or hit anything at the front of the car, and a 27-degree departure angle, which is helped by the fact that you have that tray on the back. So what we'll do, we have our log mountain just here. We'll pop that into four-wheel drive. You just turn that little lever, you get a symbol pop up saying that it's in four-wheel drive mode. And we'll just see how this goes. It's all nice and dry here at the moment, so this shouldn't be too much of a struggle, but I'm just keen to see how the throttle feels and how it behaves here in terms of traction controls. Yeah, look, it's fairly fuss-free. It's just walking up this really nicely. Toyota has refined this system over time, so the throttle sensitivity here is excellent. It's not surging, it's not doing any silly stuff. Where they did have a problem though, especially in the Prado, was the brake pedal feel on descents when you had bumps. So let's give this a shot around here as we come down the rocks. So you have 216 millimeters of ground clearance. I'll just crawl over these. Yeah, that all feels really nice. You can feel a little thunk under there, but for the most part, it feels good. In terms of that brake pedal feel, it still is a little bit sensitive. It's sort of causing us to lean on and off the brake, which can be a little unsettling, but for the most part, it's okay. Pop that hill descent control on. We'll give that a shot as we crest this. That works well. It's a noisy system though. I can hear it doing stuff in the background there as the traction control works. So yeah, okay, cool. So the hill descent control is actually pretty good. It maintains a safe speed and it doesn't run away from you. Now there is a 700 millimeter wading depth, and normally this is the point where I would show you what that looks like, but the river is incredibly high at the moment, so we cannot drive through it. So the Toyota HiLux, look, while this is the best selling car in not only the segment, but Australia, I think it's falling behind the times a little bit. While it is impressive that they have improved that diesel engine, it just doesn't feel as refined as some of the competitors. You've got a brand new D-Max here, a new Navara coming, and we're getting to the point now where the rest of the competitors have really excelled and present better purchase choices than the HiLux. So while this was once the darling and was reliable, I think it has been overtaken now by a number of the competitors. So let me know in the comments below, what do you think about that? Am I making a crazy statement here? Will you forever buy HiLuxes regardless of what Toyota does to them? Or do you reckon you'll check out other vehicles in this segment? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you share it, hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe and also press the bell icon. That's going to tell you every single time we drive another dual cab ute. But until next time, take it easy.